奇跡の炎よ燃え上がれよ君の心に未来のため
Some time ago, a nice fellow named Random DCE invited me into a panel discussion on a specific movie coming out that had many fans of a series that was based on pretty much throwing feces against the wall, let's say. Yeah, pretty much like one of the concepts that was actually modified for this film. Here comes Dragon Ball Evolution. Somewhat based on the anime and manga by Akira Toriyama, but not really. Now, first things first, what did I think of the movie? Well, to be honest with you, I went in with no expectations, and I went in late because I forgot the damn thing was even coming out. But I gotta say, I wasn't half as disappointed as I thought I would be. And thinking back to that panel, I recall saying I was actually going to give it a fair shot, and I did just that. So, here are my thoughts. So the main emphasis on why everybody thought this film was going to be a tremendous failure was the casting of the film. Why they didn't just get Japanese actors to do this is beyond my wildest imagination, but they decided to go with American actors, and I gotta say, for the most part, they did a pretty good job. They picked some decently matched up characters, but I gotta say this. The guy playing Yamcha is one of the worst fucking actors who has ever landed on the big screen. He would be a disgrace in an Uwe Boll production, okay? That's how bad his acting is. This is an example of dialogue from Yamcha, and I shit you not. Well, I thought maybe if I threw this down the hole... He talks just like that. Now, I understand he's supposed to sound like the dub guy, or the dub actor, or whatever the hell his name was, and he does fundamentally sound quite a lot like him, but at the same time, I mean, like, what the fuck? Goku doesn't sound like Goku from the anime, nor does Bulma, Chi-Chi, or any of the other characters. And here's the problem with this. It's not the cast that kind of wrecks this film's illusion, or trying to base on the material. More so, it's the writing. And the writing is atrocious at times. Why the fuck must you Americanize every goddamn fucking thing? Why couldn't you just leave it fundamentally the same? And when they did do that, it sounds absolutely cornball shit retarded. Like, it's so dumb when the characters are talking normally and they decide, I'm gonna fight with honor and save my grandfather and la-dee-fucking-da. I shit you not, they did it just like that. So it's not the cast that breaks this one, it's actually the writers. And I swear to God, somebody put a bullet in the asshole who thought we should have, like, just some really stupid expositional scenes taking up time when they could have shown something much better. And some of the scenes in this film could have been cut. But for the most part, the cast gets their job done pretty nicely. Though I've got to say, Chi-Chi's hot, don't get me wrong here. She feels nothing like the anime version, or the manga version if you really want to get close to it. Bulma? I mean, fundamentally, she's the same character, but she talks like fucking, what's his name in Batman? Everything she says is like, oh, well, I almost missed you with my gun. She's got like this lispy voice that just kind of drains you after a while, and you get sick of her. Like, she's supposed to be this fucking badass, but she barely does anything throughout the entirety of the fucking movie. What did she fire off? 3 shots, I think, grand total at one point? There's really, for characters they build up to be these badasses, they barely do a goddamn fucking thing. They're just there as support characters for Goku. That's my view anyway. Anyway, let's move on to the actual movie itself. Visually speaking, this movie is impressive as hell. It looks great, and it has some of the most clever use of slow motion I've seen in a long time. It doesn't overuse it, though, which is good, because that would have been something it could have fallen into very easily, if you ask me, and it didn't do it. I was actually surprised, because I said, oh god, they're going to do this every 5 minutes, and they actually didn't. They used it at key points, which made it really cool, and the effects stuck, because I haven't seen it done like that, really, anywhere else. Now, as for everything else, like the settings and things like that, fucking spot on. I actually stopped a few times and paused in my brain to think, like, did it match up? And pretty much, if I had to base, like, any kind of sets or anything you could create for a movie and put it fundamentally and make it match up to the original artwork, this is as close as you're ever going to get. So, set-wise, lighting-wise, everything is great. A little too dark at points, but aside from that, this movie, you know, visually stunning. You're definitely going to enjoy it watching it. Kind of like a popcorn film. I guess you could shut off your brain for this one and you could really enjoy the view, let's say. Now, if there's one thing that really stood out for me about this movie, it had to be the soundtrack. Dragon Ball had an interesting soundtrack, to say the least, But they apparently got somebody who was more attuned with action-adventure films and really knew his shit, because the soundtrack stands out as one of the best things about this movie. It literally powers 90% of the scenes, and without it, the way it was played out, I don't think this movie would have worked. So hands down to the guy who did the soundtrack, or whoever did the soundtrack, because it's fucking fantastic. It's like that type of soundtrack you walk out of the movie theater like, I want that goddamn thing. However, if one thing stood out as almost depressing and defeating of the entire purpose of making a movie based off this series, it was how fast it actually moved. Now, I understand they have to speed things up. They don't have the time frame they had with the anime or the manga or anything like that. But at the same time, things went by way too fast. The epic fight with Piccolo at the end of the film is just, it blazes by at breakneck fucking speed. Like, it's like literally you're sitting in your chair and you're 20 minutes away from the ending of the movie and that's it. It's pretty much that. But it's not 20 minutes of the fight. It's like 10 minutes of bullshit and then 10 minutes of a really good fight scene they could have expanded. They could have made that fight scene 30 minutes and I would have watched it, because the way it was presented was straight out of the anime. Now, a lot of people bitched and moaned about the early scripts they read and things like that, and they said, oh, well, there's no fireballs and there's no this and there's no that. That's bullshit. They blow up more shit at the end of this film than I've seen in a long time. And in terms of you want to see this hyper combat action you saw in the anime, you're going to see that in the movie. You're even going to get a chance to see what it would be like if they took that speed effect where the two characters leap in the air, you know, they punch and they kick, and like at hyper speed. They tried to mimic that in the movie, and I actually dug it, because what they didn't do like fucking speed lines like Speed Racer, and don't even get me started with that piece of shit. They instead decided to fundamentally slow it down slightly so you could see the blows reacting point for point. It was really well done. And again, with the soundtrack, in terms of the soundtrack building up and the fighting and everything, it was amazing. And the final Kamehameha was actually really well done, and it really did match up to what Goku sounded like in the anime, and it had that same dramatic feel as the anime did. It's just way too fucking short. I wanted more at the end. So, in the end, the movie was actually, I enjoyed it, you know? Now, as an anime fan, I'm gonna pan it. As a film critic, I would slightly pan it, but at the same time, I gotta give it merit for some of the things. Again, the soundtrack's fantastic, the visual and the lighting and everything is like, for me, it was like spot on for what I expected to see. And in general terms of a movie you'll go to see and you'll enjoy it, you'll probably enjoy it regardless. Now, if you're a hardcore Dragon Ball fanatic, you're probably gonna hate every fucking minute of it. And you're gonna hate every fucking minute of it no matter what it was, because you're so in tune with what you saw and what you remember, and when they change stuff, like the fact that Goku has no tail, spoiler alert, and will transform, spoiler alert again, if you haven't fucking seen the anime, which I'm sure everybody has at this point, you know, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna go, what the fuck? And believe me, people did in fact do just that, very loud, I might add, to the point that I remember somebody turning around and going, shut the fuck up. But yeah, fanboys and fangirls and fans of the series, you may not like this film. Filmgoers in general, I think you're going to enjoy this one. It's pretty good. It comes off like an action fantasy romp that's actually fun to watch. Entertaining, has some stupid jokes, has some sex jokes here and there. I mean, come on, it's a given. It's an Americanization of an anime. What the fuck else are they going to do? They're going to make sex jokes all the time. But in terms of a film, rating it, I'd probably give it like a 7, maybe a 7.5. I was going to curve because I really like that last action sequence. But in general terms of an anime-based movie, I don't think they should do this. What they should have just did instead was get licensing rights to re-show the original animation movies in theaters and then re-show it on TV in uncut format, which I don't think they've done to this day. But they're never going to do that. Let's face the music here. So, Dragon Ball Evolution. You may go in thinking it's going to suck. You might walk out surprised. So I would actually recommend going to see it, believe it or not, despite its panned reviews left and right by what seems like a majority of otakus who just don't know how to shut the fuck up, turn their brains off, and enjoy something. Because really, fundamentally speaking, Dragon Ball, the movie, live action, to make this shit work, you had to be on crack. And the director pulls it off pretty well. So at least give him a little credit. And let's face the music here. Was the manga and was the anime really that fucking fantastically written or directed? No, it wasn't. It was just fun to watch. And the Americanization of it, a little bastardized here and there, but you know what? It's also fun to watch. So turn your fucking brains off, get your popcorn out, and enjoy it.